Well, now sit tight and let me tell you the story of Jim Bridger, a man who wasn't just living history but making it every step of the way. Born on March 17th, 1804 in Virginia, Bridger's family packed up and moved to St. Louis, Missouri when he was just a young'un. Back then, St. Louis was sitting on the edge of the wild frontier, and it wasn't long before Jim caught the call of adventure. By 18, he'd signed up with General William Henry Ashley for a fur trading expedition into the Rocky Mountains. Little did anyone know, this trip would set him on a path to become one of the greatest mountain men the West has ever seen. Jim Bridger wasn't your run-of-the-mill outdoorsman. He had a knack for reading the land like a book, a skill that made him indispensable on expeditions. In 1824, he made a discovery that put his name in the history books, the Great Salt Lake. At first, folks thought it might be connected to the Pacific Ocean, but Bridger knew better. Turns out it was a vast inland sea, one of the great geographical finds of the time. After that, Bridger got busy. He joined up with the Rocky Mountain Fur Company, making a name for himself not just as a trapper, but as someone who knew how to get along with native tribes. He was more than just a trader. He was a bridge between two worlds. His friendships with Native Americans weren't just business either. Bridger married women from three different tribes, Flathead, Ute, and Shoshone, strengthening his ties and building trust wherever he went. In 1843, Jim partnered up with Louis Vasquez to build Fort Bridger in what's now southwestern Wyoming. This wasn't just another trading post. It was a lifeline for pioneers heading west. Whether you were taking the Oregon, California, or Mormon Trail, Fort Bridger was the place to stop for supplies, repairs, or just a bit of rest before braving the wilderness again. Bridger knew how to pick a spot, and the fort's location made it a critical stop for travelers. What's more, he had a gift for keeping the peace with native tribes, speaking their languages and understanding their ways. This wasn't just good for business, it made Fort Bridger a beacon of safety in a dangerous world. Jim Bridger wasn't content to sit still. He spent his life charting new paths and opening up the West for settlers. One of his greatest achievements was the Bridger Trail, a safer and shorter alternative to the Oregon Trail for folks heading to the Montana goldfields. And then there was Bridger's Pass, a key route through the Continental Divide that later helped the Union Pacific Railroad lay tracks for the Transcontinental Railroad. Bridger's maps and routes weren't just practical, they were lifesavers for countless pioneers. But he wasn't just about trails and trade. He had a deep respect for the native peoples he met along the way. Bridger acted as a mediator when tensions rose, using his fluency in several native languages to help keep the peace. It's a rare kind of man who can be tough as nails and fair-minded, but Bridger managed to walk that line. As the years wore on, Bridger's health began to fail, and he decided it was time to hang up his hat. He retired to a farm near Kansas City, Missouri, where he lived out his days. Jim Bridger passed away on July 17, 1881, but his name didn't go with him. His legacy lived on in the trails he blazed, the forts he built, and the stories he left behind. Jim Bridger wasn't just a man of his time, he was a man who shaped his time. From discovering the Great Salt Lake, to building Fort Bridger, to charting trails that carried pioneers westward, his life was a testament to grit, heart, and a whole lot of determination. Folks still tell his story today, and it's not hard to see why. Bridger's life was the spirit of the untamed West, writ large and unforgettable. So there you have it, folks. A tale of a man who turned the wild into home and left his mark on the history of America. Jim Bridger's story ain't just about the past. It's a reminder of the frontier spirit that lives on in us all.